Hello, and welcome back to the Guilt Free podcast, a place where you can come and get your life together guilt free. Now, I am your host, Holly, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about life design. So, recently I have shared a few posts over on Instagram talking about life design, and I figured it deserves a bit more of a deep dive explanation. So I thought, why not bring it to the pod and we can sit and chat about it and explore it together. So, if you are unfamiliar, life design is all about creating your dream life, creating a life that you actually want to live, that's aligns with your values, with your morals, with your beliefs, all of those good things. It's about stepping off of that conveyor belt and stepping into a reality that fulfills you. It's everything you want, right? And I know for a lot of women, especially sort of around, this sort of age in their 20s, you come out of school and you think you have to just slot right in to a certain type of life, the kind of life that's been modeled to us by perhaps parents or guardians or previous, past figures behind us, or the kind of life that society leads us to believe. And I think the sort of societal pressure that women experience is quite extreme. And this can then sort of turn out to look like living this life that ticks all of the boxes and looks successful and fulfilling from the outside, but inside it's not the one. It's just not doing it for you, and that's totally fine. Now, bear in mind, for some people, the kind of example that I typically give is, somebody who passes all of their exams, they go on to university, they study, they do really well, they come out of uni, they get a really good job, they meet and marry somebody straight away, they set up a family and a home and everything like that. And they've kind of done a lifetime's worth of work in a very, very short span of time. And for a lot of people, that's what they want, and they're quite content in that. But for a lot of people, it doesn't really fulfill you, and you kind of reach all of those milestones and achieve all of those goals, and you're kind of left feeling like, well, what next? So it's about creating a life that aligns with you, that's exciting, that's fulfilling, and sort of all of those things. And the great thing about it is, because success and fulfillment and all of those things is so personal to you, it's about really creating something that completely aligns with you. There's no template for it. There is no, one size fits all answer to this problem. It's really, really about getting to know who you are, getting to know what you want, and getting to know what sort of life you would like to live if you didn't have to worry about other people's judgments or opinions or expectations and all of that sort of stuff. So it's cool. It's pretty cool. And I think, oh God, I'm getting tongue tied. I think that's what's really nice. I think that's why I really like it, is because um it is so personal to you. For example, my version of success will look totally different to somebody else's version of success. And that's the beauty of it. So, to kind of explain it a little bit more, to kind of go into the factors around it, I suppose. Life design is really about being or living a life that has gone through the life design process, I should say. It's about being intentional with your time. That would be probably one of the main core values when it comes to it. And being intentional with your time looks like giving every moment of your day purpose. And it's going to grow and add towards a bigger picture, towards an end goal. And for some people, the thought of that doesn't really, it kind of makes their skin crawl a little, and that's fine. It's just not for you. But I want to make it clear that this isn't about having, a really detailed minute by minute calendar or schedule that you have to follow every single day of your life. Like it's not that at all. It's about being intentional with every single bit of your time, and that comes from within. That's not a schedule, that's not a calendar or a timeline or anything like that. So whatever you're doing it intentionally. And I think a nice example of that is, instead of just sitting down to eat your dinner and scroll through your phone at the same time or watch Netflix or whatever it is, instead you're intentional with eating your dinner, and you're thinking about how, you're grateful for having this food, and you're nourishing your body, you're refueling your body. You've had a busy day, and this is really nice, a really comforting meal. You're excited to eat it. You're being intentional with it. And you're sitting down and you're thinking about the smells and the flavors and the textures and all of those little moments, rather than just shoveling it into you as Netflix just plays in the background, or you sit and scroll through TikTok or whatever. So it's about being intentional with each and every moment of the day. And I think that's really, really beautiful. Another part of it is looking at what aligns with you and only saying yes to things that align with you. And this is important because when you go through the life design process, you are really looking at your core values, your core essence, that what makes you you. And you want to continue that on by doing things that meet those values, meet those beliefs, and so on and so forth. So it's about saying yes to opportunities, to people, to anything, I suppose, that life kind of brings your way that aligns with you. And on the flip side of that, that's also saying no to stuff that doesn't align with you, things that maybe just tire you out, people that just don't gel with you, that you find them very exhausting, whatever, right? So it's really important that you're choosing to say yes to things that align with you. And by doing that, you can be more intentional and present with whatever it is you're doing, whether that's going to the cinema, whether it's, I don't know, going out for dinner, whatever it is, you're being more intentional because it aligns with who you are, and it feels good and it feels right, and you feel excited to do those things. I suppose actually something else that's quite important in that process is actually when you go through the life design process, you actually value the process more than the end results. So quite often we see a lot of content out there, and it is really, really pushing that focus on the end goal, achieving that goal, whatever that is. It's focusing on just getting to that point, skipping over everything in between, skipping over that journey, and just getting through to that end result and what that's going to look like and everything that kind of embodies that. But what happens is your goal can change, right? It can change at any point. Maybe your priorities shift. Maybe you discover something new about that goal, about yourself, whatever it is. Goals can change. They're not set in stone. It's nice to have something to work towards, but there is a degree of fluidity to it, right? So when you are so rigid and set in this one goal and achieving this one goal, you miss the process, you miss the journey, you miss all of those little life lessons, you miss all of those little opportunities and experiences that come up for you. And when you're more focused and honed in on that process, you begin to see all of those little things, because whenever we are thinking about that end goal and just so focused on achieving that thing, buying that house, getting that job, moving to that country, whatever it is, we miss all of those little elements, little elements to the journey. And what happens is when we don't meet that goal, we feel like a failure and we just quit. Something doesn't work out for us, we just give up, right? We just pack it in. And the reality is that the journey, the process of it is going to have all of these little failures. And every time you fail, as long as you get back up and you keep going, you're going to get closer to that success, because you're going to have more failures than you will successes. Like, that's just the facts, right? That's just the truth about it. But as long as you get back up, every time you fail, you get back up and you decide, do you know what? That didn't work. What else can I try? You're going to grow and you're going to explore so much more, and you're going to learn so much more about yourself. And whenever you do finally reach that goal, it's going to feel so much more powerful and so much more incredible, right? Because you have really, really worked for it and you've had so much experience getting you to that place. Whereas if you just quit after after the first hurdle, you're never going to reach that goal. It's just going to keep resetting yourself back to day one, back to day one. So I actually think a really good example of that is the trend that was kind of floating around the internet for a while there, the 75 hard challenge. And one of the rules in the 75 hard is, so it's quite strict. You have to follow a certain eating routine, a certain working out routine. It's quite strict with its rules. If you fail on any of those rules, if you slip up in any way at all, you have to go back to day one. And the idea is that you do it for 75 days, but if you make a mistake, you go back to day one, right? And the problem I have with that is, I can understand why. I can understand it's like that pressure of just wanting to, get it done. And that's why you don't want to cock it up. But at the same time, if something went wrong and you weren't able to meet the criteria that day, that should be the opportunity to go back to the drawing board and say, like, right, why didn't it work? What didn't work for me? Why did I fail? What happened? What slipped up? What kind of fell through the cracks here, right? So then you can go back to the drawing board, you can revisit the plan and you can revise it. And you can say, right, so the eating routine wasn't working out for me. This is what would work out better. I can make these tweaks. The workout routine wasn't working for me. I've made these tweaks. I feel better about this. I feel more confident going forward. I feel like this is going to be more sustainable. Because that's ultimately what you want, is when you're making these changes in your life, you want them to be sustainable. You don't want it to be a fad. You don't want it to be a trend. You want this to be your life. You want this to look, you want every day to look like this. So making sure that it is sustainable and that it is, just hard enough, like it's just challenging enough that it's rewarding, but not so challenging to the point that you procrastinate or that you put it off or you just don't want to do it. You just avoid it, right? So I think actually that kind of leads me quite nicely onto my next point, which is around external validation. So whenever you go through the life design process, you no longer need that external validation because you get it from within, right? Because you are doing all of these things that fill you up. They fill up that cup, they fill you with happiness, or they give you the right kind of challenges, the right kind of personal growth, that it's all coming, it's all kind of, accumulating to that self-validation. right? So no longer are you going out and having to, I don't know, like say you go out and you are like dating loads of different people, right? And it's coming from that validation. You need the validation from that person to tell you that you're worthy or that you're worthwhile or that you deserve to be spoiled or you deserve to be taken care of and you deserve to be treated nicely. You're no longer looking for that validation. No, you're no longer looking to fill that hole in your life because you're able to do that for yourself. You know that you're worthy. You know that your time is important. You know that you're deserving of that love and that care and that affection. And similarly to that, whenever those sort of distractions crop up to you, you're capable of controlling them rather than them controlling you. So whenever you might get stuck, previously you might have got stuck in a bit of a doom scroll and you beat yourself up about this and you're scrolling through back-to-back videos and it's just not happening. You're just stuck, right? You're procrastinating something, you're stuck in this doom scroll. And now you're able to say to yourself, do you know what? I've done some work today. I've done whatever. I've got 10 minutes. I'm going to make a cup of tea. I'm going to have a scroll on my phone. And come that 10 minutes, you're able to put that phone down and you're able to move on to your next task because you allow the distractions to happen in a way that you're now controlling them rather than them controlling you. And it's difficult. It's a difficult skill, definitely to learn at the beginning if it's not something you've ever practiced before. But being able to acknowledge the distraction and move past it and not let it fully distract you, that is a very, very useful skill to have. But it does take that practice. And when you have that control over those distractions, when they're not entirely influencing on you and your life, what happens is you end up having more time than you even realized, and that helps you. It all feeds into sort of like the next little bit, and that is having a balance in all areas of your life. So every area of your life is being tended to. Nothing is being neglected. Nothing is slipping through the cracks. And often whenever I talk about balance, people instantly assume that I mean 50-50. If I'm talking like, oh, work-life balance, people assume that I mean it's a 50-50 work-life balance. But balance is essentially, as long as them scales is, as long as the scales are hanging there, it doesn't matter if it's just a little bit more on one, a little bit less on the other. Like as long as it's kind of you're giving to those areas, it's better than 100% neglect in one area and 100% focus in the other. It's important to find that sort of ebb and the flow. Now, whenever life design talks about sort of addressing and managing and growing in all areas of your life, that isn't about having everything 100% perfect. That is about having an awareness of all of those areas of your life and having an understanding of where improvements could happen and what those improvements might involve, and then actually adding those improvements into your day-to-day so that you can work towards them, right? And this isn't complicated. It could be as simple as, your home. Maybe it needs to be painted and redecorated, right? Okay, so what can we do? Let's go out this weekend, look at paint samples, whatever, right? It's about moving that needle in all areas of your life and growing and progressing in each and every area of your life. And I think that is really, really beautiful. I know that's something a lot of people struggle with because they lack that balance and they lack that kind of awareness that, maybe they're like a workaholic and they never see their kids, they're just constantly in their work, and, they miss all of those beautiful opportunities seeing their children growing up. Maybe they are out partying so much that their work performance is suffering, their relationship is suffering. And, it's all of these little areas, and it's not complicated. It's just about having that awareness. That awareness is key. Another element in life design is making your self-care habits a non-negotiable. And a lot of people often think that self-care is all bubble baths and face masks, and it's not. It's not just, that's like a part of it. It's a very nice part of it. But self-care is also things like, having boundaries with yourself, no phones after 9 o'clock, no screens in the bedroom, whatever, no alcohol on a weeknight, things like this, right? It's having boundaries with yourself, having boundaries with other people too. It's also different things like making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you're getting enough water, enough food, enough fresh air, right? Looking after all of those things. And self-care is also about looking after yourself on an emotional level, right? Helping yourself process any big feelings, any difficult feelings, and helping yourself work through those things. So as nice and all as it is to lie in a bubble bath with a face mask 7 nights a week, sometimes it's about spending that time and figuring out a way to help yourself process through those big feelings and emotions that you might be having. And that is a non-negotiable. That could even be like your morning routine. What sets you up for success in the day, that helps you feel put together, that helps you feel on track, that helps you feel calm and capable of handling anything that comes up today. That's your non-negotiable. And you won't sacrifice that for anything, right? For anything that kind of comes up. So having that non-negotiable attitude towards self-care is such an important part to helping keep that balance between all of those different areas of your life. Like I had mentioned just a moment ago about boundaries, clear boundaries is also another massive element to life design. And whenever you learn and understand how to effectively set a boundary and also uphold that boundary, it's life-changing, right? And boundaries can often feel a bit intimidating because it feels like you're laying down the law with somebody and you're being really firm, and then you have the yucky feeling of actually dealing with the consequence if that person oversteps. But once you learn, there's all of these things that goes into setting boundaries, different things like neutral language, negotiation, consequences, emotions, all of this stuff that goes into the life design, and something that I really, really focus on in my coaching with my clients. Boundaries doesn't feel so scary. It takes the sting out of it a bit. It feels a lot more manageable and a lot more effective. And you're able to kind of uphold that self-respect and that self-responsibility. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I suppose actually coming back to my first point about being intentional with your time, another part of that that kind of feeds into that is being present. And whenever you have those different things like being intentional and having the balances with all those areas in your life, it means that you are able to be more present in that moment, because you know that you have time for work. Work can happen then. You have time to socialize. Socializing happens then. There's no overlap. There's no doing emails at the dinner table. There's no making a call at a kid's birthday party, whatever it looks like, right? It's a lot more balanced, and you're able to be a lot more present and kind of give each and every moment your all. And I know that some people are quite content in working on their own life design. That's something they want to explore themselves. It's their own journey. But there are actually coaches out there like myself who specialize in it, who focus in it. And I think what's really cool is when it comes to my version of life design, my secret sauce, if you will, is the combination of lifestyle changes and mindset shifts. And when you apply this, you're able to build that more sustainable, long-lasting life, right? Because if you think about it, if you woke up tomorrow and you were in your absolute dream life, right? I'm talking like a 13 going on 30 moment, and you wake up tomorrow and you're in your dream house, your bank balance is your dream bank balance, you've got your dream friends, your dream job, whatever it looks like. Would you be able to sustain that? Or would you end up feeling like an imposter? Would you end up feeling like a fake? Would it end up kind of unraveling because you're not able to maintain that? And that's why including the mindset shifts into life design is so important, because it helps you make that lasting change. Now, if you're interested in exploring life design, my books are currently open for a limited time to a limited number of people. So if you want, you can send me a DM, we can have a chat, and we can arrange a complimentary coaching session. And we can also discuss what's involved in the 12-week program, just to make sure that you're, happy with doing that. But as for today, that is it for today's episode. Like always, my DMs are always open if you have any questions or you would just like to chat. If you would like to support the podcast, please feel free to like and share it. You can also now subscribe on YouTube where you can watch these episodes. But yeah, that's it for now. I really hope you have a wonderful day ahead, and I will see you in the next episode.